All right, fellas, we are at the last video for the Green Rider, and I think it's easy to kind of go back over all the others, and we can just talk a little bit about that real fast. Is that, the first one, I cleaned the thing up, checked out some stuff, and we could see that there was a lot of water damage in the engine, but the body and everything else was in good shape. So that took us to 2. We did a little bit further. We kind of just established really how bad it is. 3 and 4. We have to deal with valves and the combustion chamber and honing and all of that. And in the last episode, really, it's more about trying to tune the carburetor and try to get it running. That's what it's like in a shop. That's the air compressor's automatic drain. Check out that video, actually. I had to rebuild all of it. It'll come out eventually. And so in this episode, we're really just kind of going to go through the carburetor a little tuning on that, show you a little bit about that, doing a bit more sort of the field test out, lawn test, and some of the issues that cropped up. And yeah, we're just going to kind of dig in a little bit more. So stay tuned and let's see how it comes out. I think it's a worthy machine, but it's going to be a development. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Well, let's just dump some of this fuel. Carefully, right? Notice how I do everything carefully? Let's get a rag here. Hopefully I'll get it to stop. It'd be nice. Hold on. I should just use a cup. Why, I don't know. Why I make my life so hard? That would have fit nice. A little bit of, I have them around. I don't know. All right, so this is the jet we're going to work with. I'm just going to open it up, but we're going to take a peek in there. And we want to try to make sure that we don't... So the flat of the bowl is back there. And I do see some junk in it, guys. So that could be in the fuel line, or maybe it got sucked up in. We may have to take the carburetor back out. So that's what I wanted to see. Because there's so much junk in the system, and as hard as I work to try to get it out, all right, let's see what we can do. Maybe we'll blow a little bit of, see the sediment? Maybe we'll blow a little bit of carb cleaner up in there right now, and get it up into here. Now, it should have cleared out. We want to take out the idle jet and just blow that out too. It doesn't look bad, but remember, this is fine dirt. So what I was saying is, and then some in here. Okay. It looks pretty clean. We'll put this back. Now, there's an adjustment here. Now, that's the throttle adjustment for idle. But there's a governor adjustment with a similar screw that I can get to. And so after we get this started here, I'm going to lean over with my tack and just lean over and reach behind. You're not going to see it, but it's back on the whole governor assembly. And I'll lean back here and just twist this screw because I can get to it. And I'm going to turn it in a little bit and see what happens. In fact, I'm going to turn some of it in now and just test it, because we need to come in a ways. It's almost bottomed out. And we'll check it. And if that raises the RPM up a little bit and it seems like it's running better, then we'll leave it. All right, so I got more fuel in the tank. We got this thing going on here. Let me go kind of draw out the jet and I'll be back. Now, that's 43 thousandths, kind of. There's also a tiny little hole here. Let me show you that. Hold on. All of these Tecumsehs have this, and I don't know if I showed you in the carburetor rebuild, but we can take, I always keep an extra one of these, which is that little thing, that hanger bracket. I probably showed it to you, but you can stick it in that little, it's an additional sort of vent hole, and make sure it's cleared out. Now this is really clean, so I'm going to put it back. But before we put it back, we're going to allow some of the fuel to flow through and flush out whatever may be in that line in a minute. Okay, so I'm up about 1 thou or 2 in terms of size. I dare not go anymore. Let's just start flushing. and see what we get. It looks pretty good so far. I'm not seeing junk. I cleaned that container out. All right, fellas, let's just give it a quick test just to see, nothing's leaking, but just to see what the RPM is now that I turn that screw in. All right, it brought it up a little bit, but I think it should be higher. It's about 2880. That's 1800. Something's not right with the fuel mixture situation. But what you saw when it came up to over 3,000 RPMs was me putting the choke on, and when I put too much choke on, you see it, it'll sputter and black smoke comes out. When I got it just right, that RPM, she was singing. So she's not getting a good mixture. And it could be a valve-related issue because there may be just enough of a signal reversion to where it's getting caught up in the here. So what you're doing is by blocking off some of the flow, right, you're reducing the air to fuel ratio. So the fuel being fixed by the jet and the ability of the carburetor to emulsify it, but the air being, that's a fixed thing, right? We just opened it up a little bit. But the air, we're reducing the air by closing the choke blade and cutting off some of that oxygen. It also increased the velocity. If you increase the velocity a little bit, that's another thing that's going on. And when you're closing that choke blade, you're changing the velocity of the venturi and you're reducing the amount of air available. That's what brought the RPMs up. So essentially getting the mixture right. So there's nothing wrong in here that we need to do. Let me think about what I want to do because it could be jammed up in the carburetor. If I get another carburetor, we don't have this choke blade. I've never seen one of these like that. So I don't know if we have another carburetor. Maybe I could see if a carburetor from one of these guys, one of these other guys fits. I got another motor like this. It's a similar motor, 10 horsepower, for something more akin to a snowblower. We may be able to cut this choke blade off and screw it down to something else. That might be a possibility because they have a different choke blade. So, or we can drill a hole in the blade that it comes with. Let's see, let's experiment. We're very close to making this motor run really sweet. You see what it did? She was singing. Be back in a bit. Okay, that's real close, all right? So I opened up the main jet a little bit more. I'm gonna go just a little bit more. Right, it's really close, and I think if we put the piece on the front, which way I may just want to test that right now before I open it up a little bit more, just as another test, so I'll be back. over 3,200, 3,240. We got like a 19 something, whatever it was, idle. I pulled this tab up a little bit, tightened up on that spring, made all my adjustments as best I could. I brought the jet out a little bit more. What am I at? Hold on. All right, so I brought the jet out from about 43 thousandths roughly to about 55 thousandths. And then we open this one up. It still smells a little lean. We got a little bit of a kick. She needs a good long test. I'm gonna put the air cleaner and all that stuff back now. All right, fellas, it's a couple of days later and it's a little bit of bad news. So I don't think you can see it. That's where that tissue is. There's oil. Remember I mentioned in the beginning, see, I started wiping up some of it, but you can't really see it, but there's oil all over the transmission, all over the pulley up there. And I can see it better. I can see drips. It's on the floor. Not a tremendous amount. Yeah, it's all up in here. This is all splashed with oil. So where it's coming from is I can see it. It looks like the seal. Something's not right with the seal up there on the crank. I don't know if you can see it up there, but I can see it. So the motor's got to come out. Look at how mint everything looks in here. So I will be putting a different motor on it, or we'll see. We're going to open up the motor and take a look in there and get everything all cleaned up nice. It's going to be a real pain in the neck getting that out. 4 bolts, but to get to it, we're going to have to take the deck off and all that. We're not going to do it this year. We want to run it a little bit more, and I want to cut my lawn with it when the rain stops. Also, I think I screwed up a tube going around, so I'm going to put some stop leak in that. And this one's still leaking. We put a little stop leak in, but I got to put more in. Plus, it needs to be driven around in order for that stop leak to do anything. And worst case is we'll figure out what's going on with it. We'll put a tube in it. So we have a couple options. I think if we get the gasket for here, right, we can take a peek in the motor when it's out, but that's not leaking. And we'll get the seal for the crank. And then I was thinking maybe while we're there, I might want to pop the valve out again, the intake valve out, and grind the tip, give it a little bit more clearance. That could have something to do with it. And then maybe we'll get another carburetor for it just to fool around and see what it's like. And or maybe we'll put a bigger motor on. But if you put a bigger motor on, I don't know if we're going to be able to get the skirt on. That's kind of what I want to look at. A lot of the bigger motors, they also are overhead valve. So you'd have to have a cutout back here. And I don't know if the crankshafts are different. But that would be kind of cool. But I want to stay with this first and get it running proper. Got a good transmission. While we're underneath there, when we take it all apart, we'll probably go work on the tranny. So we have a lot to do. Some of that's going to be next year. Let me finish it up. I want to pull the tires off, you know, the wheels off. We'll lubricate, make sure that's all good to go. And I'm going to clean it up. And since it's raining today and I can't do anything else, I might as well put a clear coat on it. And then we'll put it to the side, and then we'll do a test run when it's ready. Hopefully tomorrow. All right, this one's actually a hard plastic, but let's heat it up. There it goes. All right, I'm gonna go do the other one. And then all we gotta do after that, and hopefully it comes off. Let me put some lube on that. Well, you know what, let's see. We'll put some lube around the back too. It should go, but I really need a hole here. We're just going to put some pressure on it from behind. Yeah, it's going to go. All right. There we go. Yeah, she's pretty pukey. All right, I'm going to go do the other one, fellas. And then I'm just going to clean it up. Rags, a wire wheel. We'll blow, we'll vacuum, and then we'll put no C's on. Everything looks good here. Yeah, standard fare. There's a key that's still in the rim, right? Don't forget your Woodruff key or whatever. And we'll take a closer look at it in a minute. I just gave it a quick wipe. So wire wheel, whatever we need to do, we'll just get that cleaned up. All right, so I got in with a screwdriver and my vacuum, and that was all packed. I don't know if you can see in there, but it was pretty nasty. Here, let me put another little light in. Can you see it? You probably can't see it. But we want to wash that out when we go to pull the motor. There's more up in there, but we'll get more of it out then. I vacuumed up most of it. All right, so I'm almost done, and then we'll get to the shaft, because that'll rot the housing, and it'll cause you problems. And it'll build up around the mechanisms and keep them from moving. So yeah, now I think you can see a little bit more. You might be able to see a little bit more of the oil residue coming down. You see it on the belts. And is that a wire? What is that? What is this? A stick or something? Hold on. Yeah, it's just a stick. All right. A greasy one too. All right. Yeah, and the brake is full of junk. And all right, we'll get to that. Let me keep going. Let's clean up this shaft a little bit more. I got it clean already just from wire wheeling, but it's pretty bumpy. So what we want to do, fellas, is we're gonna polish our shaft. Just let me show you guys how I polish the shaft. That sounds disturbing, Art. Well, fellas, you know, guys, your mind is not in the right place. Stay with me. All right. So this is just, you know, we're going to do this once, so we don't have to do this again because we're going to be putting nose sieves. I have some old nose sieves. It's like leaded. We'll shove that on here. But if you don't have nose sieves, just get grease on it. All right, I got to turn it. But we don't got to get carried away or anything. It's not bad. The other one, the wheel came right off. It just needs a little bit of polishing. So I got to turn that. Can we turn it? Yeah, I can turn it. See, that side's nasty. And we'll just clean it off. All right? It's just a question of, you know, this side's worse than the other side. And the other one came right off, so we caught this one just in time because, you know, a lot of times I got to get the torch out and I got to quench it, and it's just a royal pain in the neck. And we're going to need to be fooling around with this thing again. I could see that she's not done. She's going to need more work. All right, we'll be back. I'm going to put this all on. So I'll clean out inside the groove, and then I got to clean out inside the rim too. I'm not going to show that. It's just shoving cleaners and tissues, and I'll probably use one of these lint frees because they're pretty durable, and we can shove it in there with a screwdriver. All right, I think that's it. All right. Let's take a quick peek. Yeah, that's good. Okay, that'll be fun. Right. Now the rim will go right on, and we're not just buttering grease on top of rust, which, you know, you don't want to do that either. Yeah, that's beautiful. All right, I'll see you guys in a bit. Yeah, we can see in there too. It's plugged up, right? So we'll get all that out. And that's just this side, not bad, right? That's just from the wire wheel, so this will clean up quick. All right, I gotta say, fellas, it's spinning nice, right? We gotta keep an eye on this tire. I just put a little bit more stop leak in it, topped it off. I may have to pull that tube and patch it or replace it, but I put some stop leak in it. But to find out if it's gonna work, the stop leak in the tube, we gotta roll this thing. We gotta move it. Now, I'm gonna drain the oil, get the good oil out, and we're gonna put in some better kerosene, about 10 ounces of Caro, with some decent used motor oil. It is, I just wiped up the deck. It is gonna be peeing out, this thing. I'd like to cut my lawn with it and have some fun with it and just keep an eye on that oil. It's gonna make a mess, so when we go to pull the engine, we're gonna have to clean it first. All right, let me get started. Almost done. I'm gonna hit the top of the seat, top of the steering wheel. We gotta put the skirt on. I'll lower it down and I'll tidy up. But see, all of this is nice. Turn that little light on. Will that help? A little bit. I get all the stickers and everything. All inside there. I wrote choke on it like crappy, but that's okay. Just so everybody knows it's a choke. Really got to get the P-Touch working because that's just not very professional. But that's all right. Still tire, still going flat, so we're going to have to pull that tire off. I might do that. We'll see. It's still stinky in here. All right. Now, worst case, we could probably take this motor, although I have others. But just to give you an idea, right? So that's a 14.5. That's kind of neat, right? That would be kind of cool on there. It's just a newer version. If it's any good, we can clean it up and try to run it and see what happens. You know, it's basically the same. Might fit. I'll take some measurements tomorrow. Or we can just go absurd. And I open it. Oh, I can't because there's something in its way. Hold on. This thing's too big, right? Probably make the chassis flip. 19.5 turbo cool. Looks like a boxer. Those are nice. That's the Big Briggs IC. I see you. Yeah. Twin cylinder. 19.5. That would be pretty badass. I don't think we could get it on there, but we got to test that thing. Because we got to get it off this chassis. Brake on. Let's put the brake on all the way. We'll put it to like fast-ish. All right, I must have forgot to tighten up the blade bolt. Just one big nut. That's done. That tire now is kind of holding there. This one isn't, the back one isn't, but this one, I got another tube coming. And I had to lower the RPM on the throttle because it was just too much throttle and it was starting to blow smoke. So we don't have that set right. And of course I put a lot of extra oil in it. What else did I do? I put a fuel shutoff back here. All right, so some reason or another, she's spewing oil out of, like when you rev it up, it's spewing oil out of that PCV. It is just puking it out, and it'll run back down. That's a fire hazard. So I think I'm gonna shut it down. It really shouldn't be doing that. Let me check the oil level. Other than that, it runs like okay, it's not great. I definitely think that the motor has been compromised. No matter what we did to it, something else is going on, and it's still leaking oil from underneath. But it started running better. I was driving it around. Let me let it settle, and I want to take a look and see what's in the crankcase. It's not puking anymore. And I don't know if it's puking from below anymore either. All right, I'm going to continue. All right, so I just cut this whole section here, and it ran real strong on full throttle without the air cleaner. And I sucked out more oil, and it was just a little bit above the correct mark, because I think it's going to leak, and it doesn't seem to be leaking as much. I mean, disregard some of what's down there. I may want to rinse it off. Let me just finish cutting what I'm doing right here, and then maybe rinse it off, and then check it again. Go cut another section, or do it tomorrow or something. I don't know. Let me play around a little bit more, but idle isn't so great. That's why I say I think we need to do the carburetor. At the higher, power with the full throttle, it has plenty of power to cut and grind all of this nonsense and drive the machine. And it seems to be driving fine. The tire that I put some stop leak in this tube, even though I ordered more tubes, but it seems fine. And then I put some stop leak in here. I mentioned that earlier, and I think it might be okay. We'll know tomorrow. But it's not peeing out like it was. Air. All right, I'm gonna flow around with it some more. So far, so good. It's actually kind of comfortable, and for a cheap, simple machine, it's not as nice as a Snapper. Definitely not as nice as my Jacobson, but it's a fairly comfortable machine. It's kind of fun. It's got a good turning radius. It's easy. It's easy to, lift up. All right, I'm gonna play around. All right, guys, that's it for this series for this year, right? So next year we're going to come back and we're going to deal with the leak, the hole, right? Whatever's going on down there, most likely it's leaking from the main seal, and it does, it pees out. So even just keeping it in the garage, it just keeps making a mess, which is just horrible. So next year, I think what I'd like to do is pull the motor, we'll pull the deck, we'll pull the motor. I want to open up the engine. I'll get a gasket kit for it, and we're going to go in and just take a look at the condition of the combustion chamber. I think I'm going to shorten that valve a little bit. We're going to grind the tip of that intake valve because I think that could be an issue. We'll fix the leaks. We'll take a peek inside and see if there's any damage, and we'll close it all back up. We'll run it up. Maybe we'll bench run it before we install it, make sure she's not leaking, right? And then we'll put it in, and I think that's, geez, if we're successful on that, guys, that shit's a winner. And I've got myself a nice, cool little machine. In the meantime, I'm waiting for the rain to stop. It's been raining every day. It's getting cold. We're coming into Thanksgiving. And I do want to get out there and grind up the leaves a little bit more, even with it leaking. Just to kind of, put a little bit more time into the motor. I'll probably just keep it around for that until the first snow. Kind of shove it away. As soon as it freezes, right? Shove it away, put a bag over it, probably leave it outside just to get out of my way, and then we'll pull it back out next year. So we've gone over the carburetor. Is it possible that the carburetor is no good? Yeah. We can get a HIPAA carburetor or something and modify it so that it has the proper choke. That's important to me. I want that choke thing going on. It could also be a small amount of micro reversion, and that could be coming from the fact that either the valve is not seating right and or it's too long. The valve stem might be too long. It could be just at that threshold. So we want to make sure that's sorted before we put another carburetor on it. And as I show in the video, one of the indications that this may be a possibility is, and I talk about this, is that when I was pulling that choke on while it was running up here on the bench, it started to smooth out. And if I went a little too much, then you see all the black smoke and she stumbles, she's got too much fuel. And as I mentioned there, that has to do with velocity, the Venturi effect, the quality of the signal, right? I went through this dealing with like hot rod big cam motors. And sometimes you can actually get the velocity in the Venturi just right, and it will cover over issues with cam overlap and big cams and a little bit of reversion that's happening from cam overlap. Because another way you get reversion is from cam overlap or really big lift cams with a lot of duration. They exhibit the same problem. So I think that's something we want to look into. It's a nice experiment, and we'll just have to wait for some of that until next year. I'll see you guys on the next one, and thanks for watching this sort of series of episodes on the old green Rider with the Tecumseh engine. And I'm looking forward to solving this thing and tearing it open next year. See you guys later.